In the last 48 hours, there has been a massive deployment of additional air forces to the Persian Gulf. Right now, the largest United States military buildup in the Middle East since the Iraq War is taking place. Right now, more rare special aircraft are also arriving, which makes a military strike likely in the near future. Here is the current summary and assessment of the situation. Holy smokes! Save the most at Holy now with my code. What happened in the past can be found in the Iran playlist, which I will link for you here. First, as briefly as possible, here's a summary of what's happening in Iran and in the negotiations, because that's what's causing this buildup. In Iran, is today the first day of Chehlan? That's the 40-day mourning period that is customary in Shia Islam in Iran. At the end of these 40 days, the family and friends of the deceased come together. These phases, these 40-day mourning periods, also took place during the time of the Shah and eventually led to his downfall because the protests kept escalating there, since people would come together after 40 days. And from that, the next demonstration would arise, which again led to mass killings, again led to dead protesters. So if there is a new flare-up of protests, it will probably happen in the next few days. And in fact, there are already videos implying that this is happening. You can hear the gunshots in the background. This is supposed to be from a cemetery, and the footage is said to be from today. Unfortunately, I can't verify it myself. There are also a number of other recordings of new protests, including new chants, whether it's against the Shah, calls to stand firm, or threats that people are not alone. So, it seems things are heating up again in Iran. At the same time, the second round of negotiations is of course continuing. The second round of negotiations between Iran and the United States of America has now ended. Iran wants to meet again in 2 weeks, which suggests that they probably want to buy time. But we have to be clear here. Successful negotiations are extremely unlikely. Trump wants to end the nuclear program. He doesn't want any more enrichment, none at all in Iran. The missile program is supposed to be massively cut back, and support for the terrorists is supposed to end, which are available to Iran as proxies worldwide. Iran, on the other hand, knows that the negotiations are only taking place because it has the missiles and the terrorists. So for Iran, it's out of the question to give up its means of deterrence. Because if Iran agreed to that, the Americans would just do whatever they want now. The only reason they're negotiating with the Iranians is because the Iranians have possibly 2,000 missiles that they can fire at United States bases and Israel. Compromises on the nuclear program are conceivable from the Iranian side, but only as long as the program is not fundamentally ended and the path to a possible atomic bomb is not permanently closed. That means Iran insists that it can continue to enrich uranium, that this capability is not taken away from them, that it is not forbidden to them. And that makes a compromise almost impossible. And Ali Khamenei sees it similarly, as he has published in 2 statements on Twitter. Let's negotiate about your nuclear energy, and the result of the negotiations should be that you don't have this energy. If that's the case, there's no room for negotiations. But if negotiations are actually supposed to take place, it is wrong and foolish to predetermine the outcome of the negotiations in advance. However, there is room for negotiation with the channel sponsor Holy. If you mention Kurt Reinrich there, you get 10% off, and with that, we go to the commercials. In the mood for a refreshment? Why not try Holy energy drinks for those who want to stay awake or wake up? Hydration, meaning refreshing drinks, iced tea, and milkshakes for those who want to do it right and drink something delicious. All of this without aspartame, without taurine, and without sugar. Only natural colorings, only natural flavors. Just put the powder in the mixing bottle, shake it, and you can enjoy it right away. First-time customers save with Reinrich 5. Existing customers can use the code Kurt Reinrich for 10% off. The whole thing is not only really tasty, but Holy also has excellent reviews on Trustpilot. So if you want to try something that tastes fantastic and support the channel at the same time, I would recommend Holy to you. But let's get back to the video. On the United States side, a massive buildup is now taking place. The United States is deploying new aircraft practically every hour. Among them are some that are very, very rare and directly related to possible attacks. For example, we have the deployment of 2 E-3 Sentry airborne warning and control system here. These have now landed in Great Britain. The United States only has a few of them, but they need a larger number for prolonged and intensive air operations. They are indispensable for that. They were relocated from Alaska towards Europe. Now they are in the United Kingdom, and soon they will probably continue on to the Persian Gulf. That's not all. A U-2 has also been relocated to the Middle East, the Americans' reconnaissance aircraft, and just about an hour ago, 6 F-22 Raptors also landed in the United Kingdom, and another 6 are probably on their way soon. And there are a whole series of other observations of relocated troops and of tankers that were on the move and transported aircraft. In total, 18 F-35, a 36 F-16, and up to 18 F-15E Strike Eagles have been recorded so far as being relocated or having been relocated. And in addition, we have images like these here. Footage where you can see 4 F-35A flying with a tanker. And that's exactly how it can be identified. Even if the planes, the warplanes, the fighter jets don't have their transponders on, you can still see where the tankers are flying. And tankers don't perform aerial refueling at normal cruising altitude. So usually aerial refueling doesn't happen at 12 kilometers altitude. You can also tell if the tankers are picking up planes at certain locations, for example. And that's how open source intelligence analysts, meaning analysts who use publicly available information, can identify what is being moved. And then, of course, we occasionally have footage like this one. Here too you can see a tanker with 6 warplanes, 6 fighter jets on the move. For this purpose, tankers are probably positioned in Europe to refuel bombers that could be on their way to the Persian Gulf, especially for combat missions. And I've now listed a large number for you, and I probably, almost certainly, missed some aircraft that were relocated, because there have been so many reports in the last 48 hours that it's really easy to overlook some of them. And here we have to be clear. The E-3 and U-2 aren't being relocated for fun. And those aren't aircraft that are just moved around for no reason. The last time, the F-22s were relocated to the Persian Gulf 4 days before Midnight Hammer. So 4 days before the attack on the Iranian nuclear facilities took place. The fact that F-22s have now arrived in Europe and will probably continue on to the Persian Gulf in the next 24 to 48 hours is therefore quite impressive and sends a clear message. The aircraft carrier strike group around the Gerald R. Ford is not yet in the Mediterranean. There have been fake news reports about this since yesterday. And the fact is, it has only recently started its journey from the Caribbean. It will arrive in Gibraltar at the earliest tomorrow. So it will enter the Mediterranean at the earliest tomorrow, but possibly not until Friday or even Saturday. But we have to be clear here. It is not absolutely necessary for attacks. The buildup is currently larger than anything that has happened in the Middle East since 2003. This allows the United States not only to conduct large air campaigns, but also to keep aircraft permanently in the air over southern Iran to hunt for missile launch vehicles, because that's the only way to successfully contain a possible rain of missiles, by destroying the rockets on the ground before they are launched. At the same time, there are numerous aircraft available to combat the drones, because in a real emergency, things will get very, very hectic there as well. And the special aircraft show how serious the situation is right now. Trump is now clearly in a position to launch a massive military strike. The second aircraft carrier strike group is not necessary for this, so he doesn't necessarily have to wait for it. In a serious situation, airstrikes can be concentrated, which means flying more missions than usual for a certain period of time. For example, by postponing maintenance a bit, and of course, overworking the pilots somewhat. The pilots become exhausted, and maintenance deficits occur, so that doesn't allow you to do it at a high level permanently. But these attacks can definitely be carried out with greater intensity until the second aircraft carrier strike group arrives on site and brings relief, allowing the already deployed units to reduce their combat missions. So it's clearly not correct that an attack has to wait for the Ford. Now we come to the big question. Does this mean there will definitely be an attack? Under normal circumstances, the answer would clearly be yes. Deployment is costly, complex, and demanding, so it's only done for a good reason. However, this is contradicted by Trump's desire for a deal. The military buildup lets him show Iran, "You have no chance, so accept my offer." However, there is hardly any room for a deal. We have to be clear about that, as I have already explained. Because of his ego, Trump should rule out any deal that is worse than or comparable to Obama's deal. At least that's my assessment. He doesn't want to embarrass himself by making an agreement that isn't clearly better than the one with Obama. And that will be very, very difficult with Iran. Then, a military intervention would be very likely. If that coincides with new waves of uprisings, which might happen in the next few days, then there is enough now to intervene significantly. But we have to be clear here. Iran, for its part, can also do something. For example, it can threaten shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. That's exactly what they're demonstrating right now with an exercise, to once again tell the Americans, hey, we can do something if you attack us. Of course, they can also fire rockets at the United States bases and the allies around the Persian Gulf. The war, if it's not just a small pro forma attack to draw Trump's red lines, definitely wouldn't be over in just a few days. To sum it up, an attack is not guaranteed, but now very likely. The United States is now preparing for a decisive campaign, especially since Israel will likely be involved. The earliest attack could be late in the week, possibly Friday or Saturday. Before that, airstrikes are probably not to be expected yet. But these are just assessments, which could very well miss reality a bit. As I said, there is still a window for this whole thing to end without airstrikes. But with every hour, it becomes less likely. At this point, if the attack happens, it will probably be this week. But of course, we will see. If you don't want to miss out, subscribe and click the bell to get notified of future videos. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. German time, there will be a live stream with a Ukraine war update and Q&A. We can discuss this topic then. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up to help the algorithm. And if you have anything to add, use the comment section. In the description, you'll find my other YouTube channels. Maybe there's something there that might interest you. And otherwise, I'll leave it at that. And thank you for your attention. Many thanks. And thanks also to the supporters on Patreon and to the members here on YouTube. In particular, I would like to thank Lieutenant Colonels Mahamuri and Thomas Comps, as well as Lieutenants Vision, Soundlab, Robert Veal, Matt Burke, Muta 1000 Beertainment, Janis Gu, NTX, Sascha Müller-Cunningham, Oistress, Jans vom Eck, Uwe de Vrem, Nickname 2Bib, Karsten Schulz Gulaschnascher 4000 and Tequila. 42 many heartfelt thanks. Without them, this wouldn't be possible.